Welcome to Serve, Supply, Strengthen, a podcast developed to help churches reach their community with the gospel of Jesus Christ. We provide tools and resources through our various conversations to be able to help the local church meet that need. We are a ministry of the Upper Ohio Valley Baptist Association, and we welcome you as we dive into today's topic. God bless you, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Hello, welcome to Serve, Supply, Strengthen. This is a podcast that has been created so that it can help the local church reach its community with the gospel of Jesus Christ. We seek to provide resources and tools through this podcast to be able to help the local church to do that. And over this next year, we're going to be looking at many different topics. And this month, the topic is how to really understand our community. What are the importance of understanding it? My name is Chuck Morrow. I'm the Director of Missions for the Upper Ohio Valley Baptist Association. And today, to help us discuss understanding our community and things that go on, is Charles Matlock. He is one of our pastors, and we're really glad that he's with us today. And so I'm going to just dive right in. First off, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Hey, thanks, Chuck, for having me on here today. I appreciate the invitation to be here. I love the topic that we're going to talk about today. It is something near and dear to my heart.
Well, I'm really glad to be able to have you on. I know that those who are listening online or those who might be watching some of our coverage on YouTube later on, what we're looking at today is really, he and I had breakfast this morning, and one of the things we were talking about, numbers matter, but numbers also don't matter. There's good and bad things about numbers.
Yes.
Today, what we're going to look specifically at are demographics. Why are demographics important, especially when it comes to understanding your community and having ways to develop ministry opportunities to do that?
Absolutely, Chuck. I tell you, I used to only use the census to gather my demographics for the area that I was in, or if I was going to go and speak to a church outside of my community about missions, I would immediately go to this census report and start asking questions so that I would be able to better communicate with the church that I was at.
Well, since you were using just the census report, how much does the census report help compared to new options and other ways that we have today?
That's a great question. Well, let me first by say that I would use the census report to see what the makeup of the community was. Because in Scripture, Jesus tells us to go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And at one time, we actually had to leave our country to go to another country. We still need to do that. That is very important that we still go. But we can introduce our congregations to foreign missions right here at home. So often, once we walk out of our doors, we are in an international community.
That's a really good point. I have a missionary friend who I can't name because of the folks that they minister to, but one of the things they say on a regular basis is that the nations are coming to our doorstep.
Yes.
And so our communities have changed a lot over the last several years. Mm-hmm. And with that, our demographics are going to show that.
Yes.
And also with that, what those lifestyles are, the lifestyles of those who are coming in, those demographics are going to show that too through various reports that's available to us.
Absolutely. And I want to go back to your original question and talk about the difference between the census report versus other tools that we have available today. And one of the things is that you cannot trust the numbers completely.
That's right.
You just can't do it. I know that I am in a community, and I'm not going to say the community that we're in, but the census report says that we are 100% Caucasian. and that is absolutely not true. We have African Americans, we have Hispanics, we have Asians, we have a lot of different cultures in our community, but the census report says that we are 100% Caucasian.
And that's really true, because if I remember correctly, when I was driving through your community not too long ago, I saw that there was a Hungarian restaurant that was opening up soon. And so I don't know if it's Hungarian or...
No, we have a Jamaican.
A Jamaican.
Yes.
Please, I am so sorry about that.
Yeah, it's a Jamaican restaurant.
All I could... I sound like a fool right now. Some folks are probably laughing at home. But hey, I'm blind in one eye, and I see things half the time sometimes.
And if you blink as you drive through our town, you've missed it. You've
missed it. Just like a lot of our communities. So you at home might be listening, and you might be going, well, I live in a very small community. Where we are in West Virginia, and there are a lot of rural communities. So with that, some places come up real quick and some places close real quick because of the economy. I drove through the next day and I saw that there was a sign that it was for sale. The building was.
Yes.
And so as quick as a place comes in is as quick as a place can go as well.
Absolutely.
Which again plays into your demographics.
It goes right into the demographics, because the demographic report will tell you so much about your community. I know pastors that just sit in their office and they never interact in their community. They don't know their community. And for me, I have to sit back and go, if you're not engaged in your community, and if you're not reading about your community, how can you best serve your community? And so for me, it's a twofold thing. One, you need to study your demographic reports. You need to know what things are going on in your community. For example, my community is 21% poverty rate. I mean, that's pretty big. Median age for men is 48. Median age for women is 52. Those are just some of the things that you'll learn about your community. Now, it takes both. It takes sitting there, studying the paperwork, the figures. You have to get to know those things, but then you have to be out in the community engaging with them, because both of them are going to teach you different things about your community.
So let's talk about those reports.
Okay.
Let's talk about that, because there are a lot of opportunities. You can go online to a lot of different places. And by the way, as you're listening and watching, we're going to be providing some links to these reports and ways you can get these. Some of these will be free. Some of those might have a cost to them. But we want to make sure that you have a good understanding where you can get good, solid information for your demographics in your area. But let's talk about some things that are really helpful within some different demographic reports and opportunities we can get those through.
Okay. Well, first let me tell you that the resources that I am about to share with you, I'm just talking about them. They're not a sponsor for me. They're not a sponsor for you.
Right.
But these are tools that are so needed. And the first demographic report that I received that was not part of the census was from Church Answers.
Oh, Tom Rayner with Church Answers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's the Know Your Community report. This is a fascinating report. And it's based on drive time. Now, you can get your demographic reports in a couple of different ways. You can get it in drive times, which I think makes more sense, or you can get it in mileage. But let's say that you're on a coast somewhere, and you do a 5-mile. Part of your area is the ocean, and so there's why. It just doesn't make sense to do a radius around your church when a drive time is more important. But through this report, it is really educational. We'll get past all of the this kind of things, but you can see education levels. You can see how many industries are in your community. Just driving down the street and driving around town, it's kind of hard to count all the businesses and get an accurate count.
And I really wonder how many pastors, church leaders actually do that. Because, I mean, for us to really spend that time as leaders looking one-on-one which places there are, we could spend all day, weeks, really trying to compile that data on our own. So having these reports are very useful.
It's very useful. But, you like I said, you can see your education level. You can see how many have high school diplomas, how many have dropped out of high school, how many have some college, how many have degrees. It's really, really good to know that information. You can tell the median income through these reports.
Right, and I see household size as well. And most of the demographic reports are going to show things like that.
Right.
But what's unique about the Church Answers, you got some options on choosing some of the distances and things like that, because you don't have to specifically choose your town. You can choose an area that expands out from the town so far.
Right. What I've done is I have done a 5-minute drive time and a 15-minute drive time from my church address.
I was listening to another podcast with Mark Clifton not too long ago, and it might have been within the last few months that I heard the average drive time that folks want to spend driving to church is roughly 10 minutes.
Yep.
And a lot do travel further than 10 minutes. But you think about this, you think about where the church is located, how far away it is from its larger population. I live in a community that's a little bit different. It's the community that I live in is outside of those spectrums. And so folks do travel quite a distance to come to church, but it is kind of an understanding of those demographics and the mentality of those who are coming of, are they willing to make that an effort? But genuinely, 10 minutes is the average that they're finding. I think Mark Clifton and Tom Rayner have talked about that in the past.
Yes, they have. Another thing that I learned about my community through Know Your Community report is that we have 101 households in our community that do not have an automobile.
Wow.
And so you don't know that just going around to the grocery store, to the dry cleaners, and back to the church.
Within this report specifically, what is something that you really like about this report?
Well, I like the drive time aspect. I really do like the drive time aspect. I like the way it breaks everything down from education to ethnic groups in our community. This was where I found in our community that we are not 100% Caucasian.
Yeah, I see. This has a past, current, and a future projection of different ethnicities that could be in the area, and I see that it goes up between 2021 and 2026 by just a little bit.
Yes.
So yeah, it does change a lot with that.
Yes, and one of the things that this report also shows is what your growth rate is. And currently, our community is in a negative growth rate. We're at 2.95% negative growth rate.
That's something that can be really important for churches to understand, especially as their congregation sizes might change.
Right.
I know that we also have an area where industry comes and goes. And so plants have, especially in the past, we had those major plants like the steel mills and those types of things, but those have closed down. Glass was really big in this area. Those have closed down in other industries. But now in our area of the country, oil and gas is really big.
Right.
We have one community that the population is fixing to almost double in the next few years because of industry coming in. But the thing is understanding those economic changes for a church are important.
Right. Because how many times do we sit in our churches and think that our community has left us? They've just moved away from us. Reality, the neighborhood hasn't left us. They've changed. And we need to understand those changes so that we can better reach them. Demographic reports help us understand what's happening in our community. Being out on the streets, engaging with people. You know, you mentioned the Jamaican restaurant that's in our town. Our community does not have a local restaurant that is open for breakfast. We do not have a coffee shop that you can go and sit with locals and get the feel of the community. It's just non-existent in our community. And so having these reports to help me understand helps me get a better pulse on what's going on in the community.
So with that being talked about, how do you see this compared to other demographic reports?
That's a great question. There's another demographic report that I just absolutely love. I think it's one of the best. I
know where you're going.
Tools. Yes, you do, don't you?
This is one of my favorite reports.
It's one of my favorite reports. You can see the difference in the thickness of the reports.
If you're at home watching on YouTube, this is the printout of the Church Answers, Knowing Your Community report. And the other one that we have is offered through the North American Mission Board.
Yes.
We'll provide a link for it. The Know Your Community report, if you get a membership to Church Answers,
yes,
it's around how much?
Okay, if you get a membership with Church Answers, it's part of the membership. You can get it once a year.
Right.
If you are not a member of Church Answers, there's a fee to it, and I think it's $175 just for the Know Your Community.
And now some guys might be going, $175? Hang on, wait a minute. Let's put the brakes on here. And listen, let me help you out here for a minute. Looking at that, there is another report as well, because the Church Answers and this next report that we have through the North American Mission Board that's being offered to our churches, they have a lot of good information both ways.
Absolutely.
Okay? And so I don't want to discredit at all Church Answers, because they have a lot of great.
I use both. I look at both of them because there are different things in each.
Exactly.
But I'm going to tell you, I've joined Church Answers, and if there's anyone listening from Church Answers and I misquoted your price, I apologize.
We might be able to go on their website and put some pricing information.
Yes, but I highly recommend being a part of Church Answers, because I love the online community there. If I'm struggling with something or I have a question, they have a forum with over 2,000 pastors that
That's great.
You can jump on, throw your question out there, and you will get quick responses.
Well, now looking at this next one, like you said, I'm going to hold this up. You probably did a few minutes ago. That's pretty thick. But the thing is this is 3 reports in one.
Yes.
Josh Dreyer, he works with the research side of things with the North American Mission Board at NAM. And they are offering this, and we'll provide the link for free for the local church. And so with that, you'll find that in our show notes, and we'll put the link in here. But what are some things that are unique about this?
What I really like about this report is that I can look and see how many churches that are in my area. It'll give me, I believe, a 1 mile radius around my church for churches. And so I can see what denominations are close to me. And so it helps me have a better understanding of that. Another thing that this has is it has, and I can't remember the name of it, but at the end of the report, it takes down and analyzes the trends of the demographics.
Tapestries.
Yes.
And those trends, I like these tapestries. The reason why is it compares your community with similar communities of the similar size from across the country.
Yes.
And it gives information to help share what your community is like based upon the information that's found here and from across the country. And there's several different kinds of tapestries that it shows.
Yes.
And that is really good. I like that as well, because having just a one-sided demographic, you know what your town's like, but what does it look like when it comes up to being compared to other towns similar to it? Absolutely.
I love that about this report. With this report, some of the things that I've learned is how many children live within 5 miles or 5-minute drive from my church, and how many children live within a 15-minute drive of my church.
See, and the thing is, another option within that, you get 3 reports in one when you do this.
Yes.
Okay. You can do it based upon miles or minutes with that. And when you do that, they will send you and give you the option to select 3 within the minutes, 3 within the miles. So you can do 1, 5, 10 minutes.
Yes.
1, 5, 10 miles, 15 miles, whatever the case might be. But they will send you all of those, all 3, whichever you pick is either miles or minutes, and it'll be the demographics within that entire area. So we use this a lot to be able to help churches understand where they are. One thing that I really like is within this report, they are able to go through, and it has your typical demographic information. But one thing that I really, really like about this is that it will take your household stats of what you purchase in your annual lifestyle spending, and it'll look at your household spending. Okay. They utilize reports such as the consumer report and data from that and those areas to see what are people spending their money on. Okay. And so when it comes to ministry, you're able to see, okay, what is the community engaged in based upon what are they purchasing? How can we minister to a need by seeing these trends within the community as well? But I think the biggest bonus that I like about this is, do you attend church regularly?
Yeah. That is, if you notice, I have it highlighted on this report. The question is asked, do you attend church regularly? And in my community, within a 15-minute drive, 799 people or households disagree completely. They do not attend church. 433 somewhat disagree. So that's telling me what my mission field is looking like. That's telling me that there is opportunities for life change in my community. And with that kind of brings up the next part of this. Yes, we need to be in there. We need to be engaging with people when we're in the neighborhoods, when we're walking our dogs, when we're going to the grocery stores and stuff. But how can I reach my neighborhood knowing all of this information? And this is where some books that I brought with me come into play. There's a couple of books that I really, really like, and I've adopted one of them as our outreach strategy for our local community. And there's lots of good ones, but I really like The Art of Neighboring.
I like this as well.
This is a great resource. How many of you know the 8 households that live around your house?
I'm going to venture to say a lot of folks don't.
Yeah. And this will encourage you to get to know 8 of your neighbors and to pray for them and to interact with them. This is the resource that I absolutely love. It's Bless. It's a book written by Dave and John Ferguson. They're brothers. And the acronym stands for befriend, listen, eat, serve, and share your story. And so this is 5 everyday ways to love your neighbors and change the world.
And by having a demographic report, especially as detailed as Church Answers and the one that the North American Mission Board provides, these opportunities, these books, again, if you're watching, and also in our show notes, we'll put these in there. These are great resources to go to.
Yes.
Here in a couple of weeks, we're going to have Tim Turner. He is one of the directors at the West Virginia Convention of Southern Baptists with us. And one thing I know that he's going to talk about is Bless Every Home. And so we'll get a little bit deeper in that, but it encompasses a lot of this.
It does.
And
I love the app Bless Every Home. You'll be able to know who your neighbors are, and you can pray for your neighbors.
I can't wait for that discussion.
That's going to be
That's
going to be a great podcast.
I hope you mark that. That's going to be here in a few weeks before the end of the month. Mm-hmm. So as we continue in this time of looking at how to understand our community. So go ahead.
One more thing I've got to say is if you're a pastor and you're wanting to get some demographic reports and you want to learn your demographic reports, don't keep this information to yourself.
No.
You've got to bring your leadership team in this. You've got to get them involved, walk them through this Know Your Community report. And I know that some of them are going to sit down and go, well, Pastor, I know this community. I've lived here all my life. But they don't understand fully their community until they go through this report. And so I want to encourage you, share this with your leadership team, share this with your outreach team, share this with the people in your church that go out to serve the community.
One thing that I just want to touch on real briefly before we close up as we're wrapping up here. This one from NAM, North American Mission Board, shows internet access, those who use computer and those who use cell phone.
Right.
Because listen, we're in that time and age where everyone is communicating digitally, right? We're having a podcast that can be listened to on a phone or watched on a computer. So we're in a digital age. So this shows a percentage of those who use a computer and use a cell phone. In addition to that, this has projections, okay, over the next 5 years. What will your community look like within the next 5 years? Population projection and income projection and household growth projections. These things are really important, especially as you're going through to develop ministry for your church and you're trying to see which area should we be investing some time in for our church for the future. I just mentioned earlier in this in the show here that we're going to have a population boom in one of our towns. All right. How do I know that? I see these reports. And also these reports are based off of things that we don't see on a regular basis.
Exactly.
Right? We don't know what the building plans are for the community. We don't know those things in depth. They have a way to be able to understand how the community is going to grow through industry. And industry brings families and those for periods of time. So with that, I really like that this report does that. Again, know your community report through Church Answers, and then also the report through the North American Mission Board that you can get for demographics. It will give you 3 areas to choose for your distance, and also the Tapestries again, which is another great option there. So do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing about the Know Your Community report. One of the things that I've learned through that is, and I hope I have this number correct, that my community has 538 households with people with disabilities.
Wow.
I don't know that if I'm not reading these reports, if I'm not, because you don't get that when you're walking around your neighborhood. But our town, a small town, 538 homes with disabilities. These help you target your ministry areas.
And that's important. So pastors, church leaders, those who are in your church, if you are looking for ways that you can understand, know your community, one of those ways is, listen, again, numbers matter.
Yes.
Numbers can be true and numbers can be false, but these organizations try to do as much as they can to get as accurate as they can with those numbers, because it does matter when it comes to the church. And so when you're trying to develop ministries and opportunities, these reports can help you do that. And again, take some time. And you said something really important. Get your ministry leaders in your church involved with this process.
Absolutely.
Because you have no idea what can actually come from this. But by knowing these numbers, it can help out a lot of things.
Absolutely.
Well, Charles, I really appreciate you being on the show today here on the Serve, Supply, Strengthen. I hope that this has been useful for yourself. If you like this, feel free to share it, like it, comment on it through the various different platforms. Soon we should have our own Facebook page itself set up so folks can be able to see the updates that's coming up. So thank you so much. God bless you, and we hope to have you tune in next week.
You have been listening to Serve, Supply, Strengthen, a podcast developed to help local churches reach their community with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Feel free to like us, share this podcast, download it, leave a comment to let us know what you think. Serve, Supply, Strengthen is a ministry of the Upper Ohio Valley Baptist Association. You can learn more by going to uovba.com.